Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Christmas. So I didn't get around to obviously doing part 2 of the US approved watch list on Christmas Eve. That was obviously more optimistic than than my time allowed with Christmas coming up. Not that I did anything overly exciting, but yeah, so here I am back again, and where are we now? The 27th. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. I mean, we haven't had much movement in the market over the last few days, so it's been actually quite nice just showing you here quickly the low time frame chart that I've got for Ether and Bitcoin that I make alerts for, same as I make them for the alts, just to try and get, and I do a bit of a commentary to say, where the entries of high probability or not, and it's kind of nice, when I like it when it ranges, and I like it, because the price doesn't move too much, and then you can get kind of good scalps with tight stops. And I haven't got to worry about news coming in that's going to give massive moves, etc. So not much going on here really. And like I've said before on Bitcoin anyway, I won't go into detail on this, that I just want to wait and see what the annual close is. And I mean, it's possible we're going to get some movement over the next couple of days, but at the moment, obviously, we're going to make annual demand on Bitcoin. I don't think we will on Ether, but we might make a 3-month or 6-month or something. So that's going to be interesting. And yeah, we'll love those retests if and when we get given them. On the alts that I did on the previous stream on that watch list, I did A to H. So hopefully I'll finish today. I think the only one that's hit so far, because obviously alts haven't had a great deal of movement, and a lot of them were hitting supports that I'd already alerted anyway, but I think the only one that's hit is this on CRV, and it gave a little initial reaction off 3-day supply. But as I've said, I alerted, and I've had a few others hit that aren't on this list that are, hit or just miss on these 5-day supplies. Yeah, and I just wanted to keep an eye on them, and they're very variable. You've got things like this, meme-fi, whatever it is, which is just in a downtrend. It doesn't have much history anyway, so this is not necessarily a high probability short regardless, but it is in a downtrend, so it's a better probability short than maybe some of the other ones like CRV, which are in this uptrend. So you're looking for, are we going to start creating a downtrend here? At least to get down to there, or to get down, a bigger downtrend, given in this case it's coming off a 3-month supply in here. So we were just looking for that possible breakdown, given it hasn't broken like a daily demand yet. This is still basically in a daily uptrend, so you've got probabilities in either direction as always. But yeah, I don't want to waste too much time on that. I may just have a quick look at others actually, because I haven't looked at that since the last stream, and at US dollar dominance. Okay, so this had made a 5-day demand in here. There's nothing on the weekly, so this had made a 5-day, so I was expecting to come back in and retest that and just see what happens. And again, is this going to start creating an uptrend? Same here, you can see that it created a 5-day demand, came down, and it took a bit of time, 10 days or so, a couple of candles, to then actually get the move up. It's another few days before creating the next 5-day demand, so I guess we'll see what we get. And yeah, as I've said, it's Christmas, so we're kind of just bouncing around sideways anyway. There's not much to add on this. Yeah, 5-day demand could have come deeper inside it. There is a 12-hour down there, or an 8-hour that's been untested. Yeah, so it's just pretty much as you'd expect. It's come off 12-hour inside 5-day demand, bounced off there, come back up into 12-hour supply, and has, now, so it's just in this tiny range, banded by 12-hour supply and 12-hour, oops, didn't mean to do that, 12-hour demand. So we just need to sort of start thinking about what way this is going to break, and obviously this is looking potentially like a reversal, and it's got, better supplies up there, but it does have this swing failure here, having taken out the stops from the trend line. So just need to continue to see what pattern forms there. And the others chart, just so we can get a bit better sense of alt's bullish or bearishness. Okay, so that's come back up through, let me just go to the higher time frames again. So weekly, So again, it's just sort of a little bit like US dollar dominance in reverse. It's retested this 5-day, and which I would have thought it had more alts hit 5-day supplies actually, but maybe I haven't got enough alerts in there. Yeah, so this is likely to come down, but 12-hour demand low here. But yeah, would look for this to come back down again and, you know, potentially retest this level. Is it going to hold again for the next move up, or is it going to move deeper? And obviously can still move higher into that 5-day supply if it wants. So we're obviously still very much in an uptrend on the higher time frames. But that doesn't mean, you know, as I've said before, that we're not going to start making this type of pattern and do, you know, retrace this last move up. And I think I pointed out previously that PA wasn't dissimilar to here, where we had, anyone who didn't watch the previous stream, where we had this up, move this triangle up, and then this distribution down, you know, and it is possible we end up with this here, and then the overall double top. So just be a bit careful of that, and then also the other thing I pointed out previously, these 113 fib rejection, or 113 to 127 fib rejection areas is going to be the risk on this. And one other thing I might just put on here is the 113 of the bigger move. So, where's my box? So if this does continue up and we get a breakout, we just need to be a little bit conscious of this zone. So between the 113 and 127 of the bigger move, and that we don't get a rejection of this in this area, or that would be the next area I'm looking at for possibility of rejection, with that 113 to 127. And it also coincides with the 161 of this move, so that would be an interesting area to watch from, yeah, 630 billion. If we do get a continuation up here, but like I said, you know, I am looking for possible shorts in this area and possible longs if we come back down there. And again, remembering that there is the risk that because this didn't cause a breakout, that this is not strong demand if price action remains as it stands. So yeah, not much new on that anyway. So back to the US watch list. So again, just a reminder of the US watch list is those alts which have been well, have some sort of US link. I think, yeah, I think we tried to confirm exactly what that meant after the last video. Yeah, it's alts that have some sort of a US link. I think they're US companies or etc. And therefore they might, therefore they're not subject to capital gains tax in the US. So therefore obviously more attractive to US, and I think a lot of those are the ones that pumped quite strongly, and why some of the sort of dino coins that we talk about pump quite strongly from August, and when Trump got in, because that was Trump's policy. Okay, so here we've got this hitting monthly supply in here, and it's taken a wick up inside it. ICP, it's come back down, straight back down into monthly demand. So again, not like, yeah, a lot of these alts again are the same, going to be probably the same as what I was discussing just before Christmas on the first half of the list, that we've got a mixture of some which are trapped. They've changed things on TradingView that make it quite hard to, sometimes quite hard to select the thing you want to select. Yeah, we've had some alts, most alts have this monthly demand that I don't love that they haven't tested in some cases like this, for example. Okay, there is a monthly level there that it's tested. Actually, it's not even a great monthly level. Let me just do a bit of a top down on this and see what we had. So we've got a 3 month down there. So this isn't likely to create an annual demand. It's actually a 2 month supply it's in. So yeah, the concern I think is that, that should be up there. The concern is that because this hasn't really, I mean, it's tested inside this sort of bigger demand zone, but hasn't really tested solid demand, and there's a nice 3 month down there and a weekly, 3 weekly inside it, that this is just a B wave, So we've had the bigger up move, and then we're getting an A, B, C, and this, you know, C can either be a triangle or it can be a zigzag. I think in crypto quite often we do see the zigzag. So it is entirely possible, leave that in there, it's entirely possible that these are now going to retrace through there, i.e. this monthly demand is just not necessarily that strong. But, you know, I have alerted a lot of them, and you can see in this case, this is, you know, it obviously has had a bounce off there. So there's no reason why you can't take entries on these monthly demands. Just having to update this. It's a bit of an old chart. Like some of them I just ran through really quickly and just threw in these alerts. Yeah, so I haven't like properly analysed quite a lot of these for a while. So we've got a 5-day supply in there. That's 4-day. That 4-day isn't really valid anymore, so this is coming up into that zone, previous historic zone, so that's sort of true supply. Nothing on the 3-day, nothing on the 2-day. There is a 2-day up at the top here. This is the other little bit of a challenge with some of the alts. This does appear to have tested this 2-day here, but some of these alts with will have, we've got 5-day supply here, and then we've got a daily or a 2-day that wasn't actually, I think that wick there hasn't quite tested that 2-day at the top. So I was slightly concerned with throwing some of the alerts on here that we might still run through and take out this zone, particularly given we're coming off monthly demands. But actually I think for a lot of what I've seen so far, but I haven't been through that many alts, we are just doing quite slow moves, like they're decent small starting wick, but we need some more consolidation through here to see if this is going to give us continuation or not. Let me just put in 2-day up here, so it could, if we get a second run, it could run through up into that area. So on this, yeah, so given we've now had that first test on there and there really isn't clean demand underneath it, like all this has been tested here, this zone's been tested here, so, and you know, even this last move, that zone's been tested there. This is not somewhere that I want to add another long entry unlocally, because there's nothing clean. If there was a clean daily or weekly or something down in here, then I'd be inclined to put in that second entry for a dip possibly deeper into the monthly demand, but also again because it hasn't tested properly anything here at the lows, I'd be inclined to think if we do get this C wave, if this starts to break down, that this is going to go deeper into here. So I've already got the 3-month demand on that. And to the upside, if we do continue up, which is very hard to know because I do run out of alerts quite a lot, because I have 800, of which 400 are price alerts and 400 are technical alerts, so the technical ones are just a bit slower and annoying. I have to put a line like this on the chart. So I don't know if I really want to put, but yeah, I mean, next zone, that would be a monthly up there, and then there's a 3-week in here. Let's change that to a 3-week. Yeah, I don't want to put alerts. My point was I don't want to put alerts miles away, because then if they don't get hit, then that's a wasted alert for something I could just be alerting effectively elsewhere. But I will put one on 3-week supply up here. But yeah, nothing locally for ICP. Cross up there. It's not necessarily the world's best zone, but given ICP like obviously tends to be not one of the strongest coins, it might just go up to the next zone and reject rather than have the strength to make it all the way back up here. This is also a 3-week demand, so I'm going to just change that. Some of these, obviously I've charted these zones such a long time ago that I haven't got all my updated drawings on them. Okay, so that's ICP, nothing overly exciting there. KDA. Oh, this is kind of an interesting one actually. I think I was using this to illustrate, you know, how everybody in you know, July 23 was like full on that we were in an uptrend and this was alt season and blah 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 blah. So it's kind of interesting to see this with hindsight. And again, like I think I said at the time that it would need to break that high to, you know, if we're looking at this being, you know, the downtrend, and to break on the high time frames, this probably would have been the monthly. It needs to break that high, and then the sellers that created this down move. So it did break that high, not really significantly, and you know, it's a difficult one because those waves are obviously very close together, so it's just sort of swing failed into that zone above here before coming back down again and then breaking the low. And again, now we've got a second move up, so this is now just really forming a range, but it's still a range in a downtrend. So always interesting to observe that. And then in this case, you know, it took out the lows, so it was going, it seemed like it tried to take out the highs here. I mean, this is the KuCoin chart, so it's possible it did take out the highs on some other time, some other exchanges. This has also got a sort of tenuous annual supply in here. Put that level in because, you know, it did close below this candle, but it didn't close below the wick, so it's hence tenuous. And similarly, even on the 6 month, you can see this candle closed slightly underneath the 6 month, but not really significantly enough to draw that in. And then the 3 month supply has gone through, so I'll take that out. So I guess from a 3 month perspective, it has broken through local supply, but it still, yeah, didn't manage to make the higher low, which is what you want for that high time frame trend change. But this is a more solid monthly demand in here to be looking for longs if it comes back there. So again, before everybody freaks out about me being super bearish, obviously I'm putting in alerts if things come back. They don't have to come back. But if it revisits, then it would be good for a long entry down here. And then we're still a monthly supply up there, so yeah, like I say, just a range at the moment. There's also got a 3 week just above, 2 week. So I need to just revise here. I've got a lot of these areas down here. You know, you've got 1 week, 2 week, 3 week demands, and like they're varying depending. This is really tight in here. Like some of the other coins, it just depends. Are 3 week, then 1 month demand. Some of the other coins are like more spread out here, but these are all very tightly together. So I don't want to get front run by setting it for the monthly just slightly below that 3 week and have it bounce a little bit higher. You need to be watching it from that point. So that's 2 week, weekly, 5 days. So this is going to have the same as everything else, the 5 day supply above. And slightly tentative, so I like, you know, there's a decent move away from that zone, which I like. What I don't like so much is the fact that, you know, it would be preferable if it had taken out that high, given it's taken out this low. Hasn't taken out the low of the whole last move up. My mouse is... I always have technical issues every time I do a stream. I swear it does it on purpose just to torment me. My mouse is now not working. The battery run out. Put the mouse back in. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, so what this is basically telling you, like if this is coming down and taking out this here, as it's come down for new demand, so therefore it might go higher, but it's also telling you that these sellers aren't strong enough to break down entirely from this level. They just stop hunted those buyers, so therefore it's possible this goes up and takes out the next high. However, I'd still, because it's a decent move away from that zone, I don't mind too much throwing a possibility of a short in here. And again, I think I said in the last stream, if we waited like the last, like over here, I was waiting a lot for weekly supplies to confirm, and by the time they had, or they either didn't ever appear, or by the time they had, they would the price was miles away and it never went back and revisited, because obviously you see this is quite a strong move down. And I think even at this point, you know, I was alerting up here in the hope things would return, but then they again never did until they got all the way down the bottom, and even similarly here. So I'd like to see what the reaction is on that if it revisits. And this is the kind of thing, I mean, I don't know, it's trying to obviously pick up support on this monthly level, or maybe on the flip of this area, but there's no actual decent demand where it is at the moment. So, you know, even if it came down to the next daily, so this is, yeah, the fact it's not seemingly on decent demand, let me just check the daily, no, makes me, when even there's a daily in there just below, yeah, it makes me more confident of looking for shorts there to at least take it down. You know, even if you didn't get down to my long entry, maybe you could get down to, yeah, maybe you can at least get a decent risk to reward from an entry here if it went down into the daily. So those are reasonable for now. If it continues up, I won't put an alert in for it. But this is nice. If it does continue up, it's got a, you know, it's got a small weekly there, which probably wouldn't stop it, and it's a significant gap to the monthly. So there is, would be a solid long to look for if you are keeping an eye on it, and it gives you an entry on the lower time frame in here, or certainly if it revisits down here, I would say be quite comfortable with looking for longs on that, because then there's a decent move up here, presuming it doesn't make some new monthly supply in there or something. Link's next on the list, but I won't do that because that's in my separate majors watch list. I need to look at all those separately. MKR. So let's have a look at, again, the top down. So this is coming off annual demand here at the low, so we're getting a good, we've got had to go obviously a good move up. 6 months, not going to give anything new. 3 months. So we just took out 3 months supply here, but again only on a swing failure, which is why I left the level in. And then when it's come back up here, it's rejected that same level again. So 2 month demand significantly lower. So yeah, this is I mean again a more better one, because it's got the monthly demand in here. Obviously went through the first monthly here, which I had alerted, and then went into the second monthly, which obviously I didn't have alerted. And it's had a decent move up. It hasn't quite hit the next supply level, but it's possible, yeah, this is just something you'd have to monitor. It's possible it can hold through here, given it's on this monthly demand, but it's possible it also just depends on what the market does as a whole, that it's going to come all the way back down to the beginning of the move here. So, okay, so we're up in 3, I can take out this 2 week. 2 alerts on this. I don't love having so many alerts on the one coin. So it did have a 3 week indirect demand there. Again, another 5-day supply like everything else. Just missed my alert. Probably wouldn't alert up there now. Just missed my alert here for monthly supply. So I don't like it when levels get missed like this, because then I think it seems more likely it's going to go back for it. And again, given this, firstly, hasn't had a significant move away from that 5-day, and secondly, hasn't broken this 5-day and or even tested this lower one, I wouldn't be putting, I'm not confident putting a local short on this. But I like this zone for the possibility of a re-entry, so there's not much new to add on this, I think. And I quite like this chart in general. OGN. Yeah, that's more of an ugly chart, given it's sort of breaking below, kind of drifting back below the range, and it has obviously another dubious annual supply in there, which I might put that there because this is the open of when it got listed on Binance. Is not very useful, but that level is more useful. Yeah, so this is one of the more bearish charts, so I don't know, maybe it's not had the US influence. Like I say, we probably need to clarify as well what it means for a US coin. Just lost my level there. You know, whether we actually have a valid list. But yeah, so okay, so it came down through, so given the bigger annual supply, obviously didn't manage to quite get up and test the 2 month in there. It's in 3 month demand, and it's just sort of, so it made a 3 month demand, but it came down and actually took it out, so I need to delete that. So it had a 3 month demand, but it went and took out the low. And again, a swing failure of the low, so possibly it's going to go up and take out the high. But with a 3 month supply above, obviously we expect at least an initial rejection, and then just to see if we're going to make a higher low. So this also has a monthly demand in here, but I really don't like that one. This is difficult because, yeah, so we've got the swing failure of the low makes it more of a possibility from a long perspective. However, everything else for me points to it being still in a downtrend and still short, and this just being a consolidation through here, potentially for another drop. So, particularly given we have 3 months, look at the 3 month again. Okay, so the 3 month supply and the 3 month demand were weak. And it's weak because it hasn't broken down this low significantly. Need to go quiet a little bit just so I can think about things. I wanted these videos to be more, because I'm speaking in them, I'm going to make use of my voice and be more actual analysis rather than just throwing alerts on the charts. So a lot of what I do normally with the alerts is I just put them on the charts. This actually would be a decent short still in that 2 month level. It's got the wick up into it, but I would sort of look for shorts there if it came back there. Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of the time when I do the alerts, I just throw them on the chart. I'm just like, okay, that's a monthly demand, just put one on there. I don't really think about the structure and think about whether it's a high probability one or not. But because I wanted these videos to be slightly more educational, I'm putting a little bit more thought and discussion into like why you may or may not choose to trade a particular level. Okay, so the swing failure of that low means there is a possibility of swing failing this high. Actually, I think that's obviously why I had the alert up there. There's kind of a nice clean 2 week zone up here that hasn't been tested. But that's obviously potentially far into the future. Let me just have a cigarette. See if anyone's actually watching the stream at the moment. Not so far. Yeah, so again, we're just in a range here and consolidating through the range. And that would have been a fine long if I had it in time, which I did not. 2 week weekly. Yeah, again, this is just another one that I just don't like, this little trend line of stops here. And I just feel like it could go back lower. And because we have the 3 month supply, I think I'll put another alert in here. This is not something that's overly strong when I compare to a lot of the other charts, but again, having taken the stops there, maybe it will take the stops here rather than taking the full down move. So I think it's worth having an alert there. What was that? It was 2 weeks supply, wasn't it? Oh, what did I just do? Inside 3 month. So I imagine it. Oh yeah, it also has the 5 day. So yeah, with something like this, like I really want to see these reactions on the 5 days, you know, and I do think, you know, they're potentially worth holding. If you get something like this with such a clean trend line below, if you have managed to get in on the 5-day supply, which unfortunately I'm too late for on this one, then it's certainly worth holding to see if we're going to take out these stops. You know, okay, maybe it won't come down below the orange line, but potentially it could take out the stops there at least. Okay, OP, obviously I can't put any longs on that one because it's all-time low, or at least all-time low per that chart. Okay, interesting chart on OP. I think I talked about this briefly in the other stream, just more from a generic alts perspective. Okay, so this is an annual demand, so I would be long biased on this. Not the world's best one, but better than a lot of the other ones we see on a lot of alts. Unfortunately, it's not going to take that out. Not going to make any significant new demand. Nothing on the 2 month. Okay, so we've already hit a monthly monthly demand of that with that last alert there. It's a tough one. I mean, this is one that really has to go. It's got to go now. It's do or die. Tested this supply once already. If it holds here, then I'd be looking for shorts here, but this would be potentially, at this point it would be a scalp short. Would want to see that monthly supply, that monthly demand playing out. Am I talking about that annual demand playing out on this relatively soon? Don't really want to. I mean, they can come all the way to the bottom of the zones. It happens, and you know, BCH did that actually, and threw me for 6 because I was looking for longs for ages on it, and then eventually I kind of gave up on it because it came all the way down to the bottom of the zone, but that's when it suddenly did its massive move. So it's just kind of, that's again why I have my colours, so it's trying not to forget. But I don't want to colour this whole thing grey like I normally do for an annual, because then I can't see what I'm doing. I don't want to short. I don't think I really want to look for shorts on this in this 5 day, even though it's not exactly strong coming off there. And really, actually, the next long entry is down here again, because we've already had all these tested. So the 2 months been tested once, and that's what went up and created the annual supply, and it's come down almost to the bottom of there. It's taken stops here. So yeah, this is something that I'm long biased, and I would really like to see move up. However, from a long perspective, unless you long this monthly demand that we're already in, there aren't any new longs. Like if it comes lower, there's not any clean demand, and we might just get another test on this 2 month, and possibly we'll get like a trend line demand develop around here, for example. But this is certainly something to watch for a bigger move on the higher time frame, if the market allows it, and if Bitcoin, which is now coming down as I speak, Bitcoin allows it. And yeah, so I won't be looking for shorts in that 5 day on this, potentially up here, but also like this would generally be much more bullish than most of the other ones I've seen so far. So however long it may take, if the market allows it, this would be something I would look for potentially for a breakout. Render. This had a very choppy. So again, this is a kind of a good, nice example of what happens when, so you've got the big monthly supply, as you can see here, and it's gone like a hair off the top of it, because when you look at the lower time frames, all the dailies are very, very choppy. I'll just throw in the monthly demand when I'm here. This is another quite strong chart. So look at the annual. So yeah, this is looking fairly likely to create an annual demand. So I will put that in now in the hope that it doesn't crash in the next, what we've got, 5 days. 6 months, 3 months. Kind of already tested it on the 6 month. And then, so yeah, again, this would be a very nice 3 month on the very high time frames. This 3 month demand would be a very nice place to long for the big move. So keep your alerts and eyes on that. 3 month in there, and or even the 2 month at the lows if it really did retrace a lot. So what of alert have I got? I've got 1 week demand, 2 month inside, and then 3 months just below. So it's just got a cluster of zones there to consider. And then up here we're in 2 month supply. We bounced off monthly demand, we made a new monthly demand. So again, this is something that I would like to see move up. And so much now is just going to hinge on what the market does overall. Like I don't know enough about the fundamentals of these coins to know if they're just going to take off of their own accord, or whether they can, like obviously some will occasionally take off even if the rest of the market is not taking off. I find it very hard to know which ones, well, until after the fact anyway, or at least when you see the breakouts. But this certainly is looking at like one of the stronger ones. So yeah, I wouldn't be looking for shorts on this. I would also be looking for longs here. So this would be the aggressive long entry. And as I said, these are decent entries given the bigger uptrend, but this is not strong because it hasn't broken supply. It's got very high end supply, so therefore I'm be more confident looking for longs than potentially on other ones. But then what we're looking for is that triangle correction. So we've got the A, B, C. So if we're looking for the bounces in here, we're looking for a triangle correction before the move up, rather than the zigzag correction, which is more likely to take us down into these zones. So let me put 2 week demand on this. And again, given the bounce off monthly demand here, this is not something that I want to be putting a short entry on in 5 day supply, but it's certainly something that you should be wary of if you're in longs already, or if you're looking for longs. Then this could still go up and reject. Take some of the zones off. This could still go up and reject this zone for a move down into here. But where things have come off monthly demand, I won't really look for that right now for shorts on them, because there are higher probability shorts elsewhere. Mainly, like I say, there's no reason why you can't take a short on something like this. You know, it could very easily come up into here and then give a move down into here, maybe decent risk to reward, but it also, what it isn't is as high probability as a lot of the other alts. So there's no need really to take a short on this when other alts, say for example you see the structure here, this potentially had a supply in here and it's just giving you a small move down, consolidated before another big move up, and this could do the same here. So you're better off taking something, you know, that's already in a downtrend, which there are many alts, you know, that you could get a 5 day supply like this. Okay, in this case it didn't go lower, but something like that looks more like this, it's already in a downtrend, is just higher probability. Let's put that in while I'm here because I'm OCD, even though the price is miles away from that. So the only downside on this, you know, is while we have the annual demand, and that certainly would have been that alert. That no, this alert would have been on the monthly, but this will certainly be something that I would look for longs, and I'm just going to put that in. Possible confirmation of annual demand inside. Because you can get significant moves off an immediate confirmation. Like even if it tests in the first week of January, it can still do a significant move off there. So it's absolutely worth watching on the low time frames. But risk, manage your risk as always. It doesn't have to be off the level. It can go very deep inside if it wants to, but it's something that's worth watching. Raven, might get through these quicker than I thought. So Raven, again, we had this sort of big annual demand, which it came deeper inside. This is from previous year, yeah, and again, it's not a perfect one because it's when the candle opened, and actually I should really have it there. Yeah, it's not going to create anything new on the annual. Still might create 6 months. Okay, so I've already got the level in for that. It's possible it will create a 6 month demand here, but it's like dancing on the level at the moment. 3 months, 2 months, monthly. So this has come down. Obviously I had an alert for 2-week demand there. I'm going to add another one in case it does come deeper inside, because that's worth watching. And again, given it's taken out the stops here and it's still in this monthly demand here, it's definitely worth watching for new long entries. If it tests a little bit lower inside that zone. And then the next level of interest there, so this was a bit, again, it's like, had this big move back in 2021 and now it's just still doing a bit of sideways. Would be worth having the triangle in there. Triangle on the log scale, better than triangle on the linear. Yeah, so it would be nice to get a move off here, potentially into that, and reconfirm the trend line, and then secondly get a follow-up move off the following up with the breakout of the trend line. So 3 week, 2 week, weekly. And again, my confidence obviously is this is going to go, if we move up and we get a confirmation of the 6 month level, then this level monthly inside 6 months certainly becomes a decent and good high probability trade. So another 5-day supply, but it hasn't had a strong enough bounce to test it. Oops. Surprised you're allowed to smoke live on YouTube. You should probably say this is suitable for children if I'm smoking in a live. I actually don't know what it's like. Maybe it's for the watershed. I remember in the UK, I think EastEnders, I used to watch EastEnders when I was a kid and everybody smoked, but then they all stopped because I think it was considered to be advertising smoking, so I'm not sure the legality of smoking in public. Not sure what this alert was here, because that doesn't look like, was it a monthly? So it's a historic monthly, so it is still like overarching. This is just a messy chart and it really is just a range, so, but it was like a historic monthly there. But I don't know what, this might have just been a weekly supply here, so it's just gone a little bit inside and taken out the highs. A bit of a choppy zone, which can happen. Yeah, so again, this is something that I don't really want to put a local short on at the moment, because of the fact it's hitting much higher time frame demand. And this is where the sort of the decision like where to put the alerts and everything becomes difficult, because you've got something like this that looks weaker, it's come down heavier than, let's say, CRV or one of the other ones that we've looked at. But then once it's come into this zone, then I don't want to put shorts in here really. Whereas on the ones that are stronger, they've got space to get to those zones. But then they're stronger, so for that argument you don't necessarily want to be looking for aggressive shorts on them. So it's challenging, so I'm kind of trying to look what's in the middle. Sol would be the next one, and Sol is also on my majors, new majors and old majors list that I need to. And this, Sol's difficult. I see a lot of people still being very bullish on this, but it really is, it's swing failed the high, and this is very distinctly possible this is going to be a double top, so I would say be very careful on this. And while it's consolidated here much longer, like I would have expected that break to be much bigger. And again, it's that sort of, as I've said, I think I've said on the others chart, you know, this slightly exaggerated, but again, is this the sort of similar but just a more extended consolidation. But you know, having said that, this does, I know this has 2 month demand in here, 1 month demand in here, so you know, we just need to see whether we're going to get a bounce. If you know, and you don't have to be in every trade. If this runs through, then you're absolutely looking for the short on the retest. At this point, yeah, I'm not going to be looking. If you got shorts off the swing failure of the high, and I did have, I think, a short entries up there, then great. If you're holding on to them, just see what happens through here. But you know, there's a trend line of stops that can be taken through there. But being conscious is monthly, 2 monthly demand, so it's hit and miss as to what it might do at this point. But yeah, anyway, like I said, it's on my other list, so I'm not charting that here. This is an interesting one. So yeah, STX. So this is actually probably the first one I've seen that really is struggling in that monthly demand there. Which is interesting to see, because that's what I wanted to observe when these hit. You know, so again, you can see here, so this low is hit on a 3-day there. So we've come into a 3-day demand, just front running this monthly or 3 monthly demand in here. It's made these new monthly demands into the monthly chart. The other thing I don't love with demands is you don't want them to test this quickly. There's actually a few observations here that just to learn from regarding supply and demand. If you've got stacked demand, where you've got a monthly demand was made here, this green candle closed above, then another monthly demand was here and this green candle closed above, quite often the price will not bounce off the top one and will go into the lower one. So that's the first observation there. Secondly, what I don't love is when it comes back to test them too quickly. Like, you want to be seeing, let's see if I can find another example here. I mean, okay, this is one that failed, but you want to be seeing a couple of candles moving away and then a rounded retest of that level. So this would have given some sort of a bounce, but did not very much before it did eventually break down, but there's other factors involved there. Similar here. In fact, so this is actually quite a similar structure to now, with the difference being it's coming back to test really quickly. So again, made a monthly demand, made another monthly demand sitting on top of it. In this case, it did hold the top of that monthly demand, even though they're stacked, but it also had 2 candles, 2 months going away from it, 2 months coming back down, so this rounded retest rather than one candle up, next candle straight back down again. So that's what I don't love about looking at this monthly demand here. Maybe a bit hindsighty, but it's kind of proving me right by coming back down into the zone. And has also created a 3-week supply in there. So this is one that I would actually potentially think that might fail. And I think I've said a few times, and I'm loving the fact all the alts are different. Makes it so nice after so many years of doing this and having all the alts do exactly the same thing, and pretty much all the charts look exactly the same. It's very novel and nice to be able to look at all charts and have them not all be basically doing exactly the same thing. Okay, so we've got a 3-week supply there, so I'm certainly much more confident looking for shorts on this, even though it's got this monthly demand. It's got a trend line here. You know, even if it just takes those 2 sets of stops with the retest to allow the entry first, then great. 3 months demand here. This is something that could potentially go deeper inside. Yeah, so I'm just wondering if I fib this. I had the fib. If I fib this, so this 61 is going to be midway down that 3 month. And if I just fib that more recent wave, that 61 is right where the 3 month is. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to set an alert for that 3 month demand there. and I'm being more aggressive on potentially looking for a short on this. And yeah, and again, even much more aggressive if that now makes monthly supply. So it's possible this is going to make monthly supply. It's already got 3 weeks supply. Unfortunately, that wick's come quite close to it, so that could already be considered to be tested. It does have the 5-day, yeah, so this is something I would certainly be confident of looking for shorts on the 5-day supply. Put the crosshair, I didn't even put the alert there. I need to put a technical alert on it because I know I'm running out of the price alerts. And this has obviously got potentially a much bigger concern if it does break this trend line here, that then we could see a much bigger move down. But until I see this 3-month broken, then just look at it again on the high time frame. Yeah, so the problem this is going to have as well is that so this also not only is going to create monthly supply, but also might create 3 monthly supply. So, and I don't know if that's going to be the same level. No, the 3 months is going to be a little bit higher. So this is one I have to look back at when the year closes. But this is certainly a weaker one on the macro than a lot of the others we've looked at already. So that could make for quite a nice short if we do get the retest in there. And you know, again, with all of these, like, we're not necessarily going to get the retest per this this video. You know, be aware that, you know, if this does create 1 month, 3 month supply, then you might get a short like really, really close, or might reject off the 3 week if you get a swing failure above this candle. If this creates, so we've got 2 days till the 4-day supply is created, 1 day till the 3 days converted to a day and a half. You know, you might get an entry much sooner, like it doesn't have to come up here and retest. So if you can get the retest up there, then great. If you don't, but you might want to jump in later. SUI, so I know my group were quite liking or being aggressive on SUI, looking for longs. I don't like this. This reminds me of PopCat. Because I was watching PopCat because I kept seeing so many influencers like longing PopCat. And I was, you know, I didn't really get a perfect short on it, but it was very similar to this, and then it came all the way back down here. And so you can see it was a bit tough in here because it was like trying to look for shorts based on rejection of this what was all-time high back then, although Mexi obviously had a higher level, not all-time high necessarily, sorry, just a rejection off that top there, but it never really broke down significantly. Got a long in there, and then longs, shorts, longs, shorts. Okay, let's just see what the annual looks like. Okay, so the annual is going to be nice. It's going to have a dubious annual demand down here. Again, dubious because of it's the opening candle on Amazon Bybit, so it may not be an annual on any other exchange. So really, I'd like to see this as a 6 month as well. Not really. Okay, then it's going to have a 3 month in here. I'm more confident of putting this in because I don't necessarily think this is going to fall off a cliff in the next. Gosh, Bitcoin's starting to look a bit rough again. That's what I said in the group earlier, that I was glad and had a good pump off that entry that we had, but it was almost like it was too fast on Bitcoin, because then it doesn't create support. Okay, so where are we at? Yeah, so I'd look for an entry here. And I've got that much lower entry there, which obviously was never tested. There's like to do quite wild swings. This probably wasn't a significant level. But yeah, this 3 month is certainly something I'd look at. If it comes back there, okay, so we didn't have anything on the monthly in there. 3 week, 2 week, okay, so there's also 2 week. So I might have to actually shift that. Again, I need to shift that alert up because it could pick up this 2 week above that 3 month level. Is it a proper 3 month? It's got a bit of a gap, so. Right, so I'm going to put this a little bit higher, and also because this is potentially a test of this all-time high. What's probably all-time high. 2 week demand, 3 months starts inside, can't type. Also retest of breakout level. So yeah, they'd be provisionally looking here, looking a little bit lower. I won't put another cross there, but in that general area for the retest. We do have even a 2 week demand up here, so but like I say, it just reminds me of PopCat. I think PopCat, I think it might have had a weekly demand in there, and I think it messed around and it tried to bounce off it, but it eventually went back through it. So I can see here this has already come down on the weekly, it's come down into this zone again, it's making trendline stops. So I'll be looking for those to get taken out and for a test into here, this general area. It's very choppy around here as well though, and again it's got a bunch of stops under here, so this could take a wick, so just be a bit careful. If you know, I wouldn't limit order anything, particularly in crypto anyway, yeah, I mean, so just be a little bit wary. You can see here that, you know, it was trying to break out, failed, and then it came straight back through what would have been a weekly demand there. 5 day, 4 day, 3 day. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, given the 2 week demand, I don't want to look for shorts on this, but I am actually more bearish on this, like just as how it's looking and how it's just setting up in the structure. I do think there's a fair likelihood that this is gonna, you know, it's too slow going through here, and I do think there's a fair likelihood it's going to drop back. Hopefully it won't like front run again on this level, on this weekly. But actually a weekly, yeah, it's an indirect, yeah. Yeah, I think there's a fair chance it's actually, I mean, to be fair, it's a reasonable risk to reward even for a short, but it's just a risky short because it's just strong, isn't it? You know, it's broken out of all-time high and it keeps going up, but and strictly the short isn't valid until it breaks this daily, which is just too low. You know, that's what's holding the consolidation up. You know, if it comes back down into here and holds, then potentially you can look for more longs. I wouldn't be looking at this 2 week at the moment, not until it takes out some of these wicks. But distinct possibility it comes down into this area, so keep an eye out for that. Excuse me. If it gets a much bigger drop, then, you know, the whole market would obviously have to drop for this to happen. Then you're looking at this annual zone and probably those zones inside it. 2 week down there, dailies on top, but something down into here, but also certainly this 2 week, 3 week, 3 month area is a decent place to look for longs. Sushi. Excuse me. So the annual on this. Okay, so then obviously either slightly front run my alert, or I put my alert in after, I'm not sure, but yeah, this is coming out under annual supply, although it has swing failed the low. Again, it just makes it harder on the high time frame when it's done that. Possibly is going to create 6 month demand, so that will be an interesting long if it does. I think it probably, either I put that alert in after, or I've pulled it down a bit later and it just didn't quite hit it, which is annoying. Excuse me. It's great, isn't it, when I do these streams and I'm coughing all over the place and then smoking at the same time. Okay, so here I have an alert already on 1 month for 1 month demand, and then there's also the same as everything else, there's 3 week and 2 week in there. Coming off annual supply here, you know, okay, it may go back there, or it may have just slightly front run my level, but again, that makes me more confident of looking for shorts on this as well. So if we have the 5 day, obviously that one time at Bandcamp, we don't have a 5 day supply in there, so that's annoying. Not even a 3 day. Excuse me, we do have a 2 day up here. What's that 3 month level there? Okay, that's pretty much gone now as well. 2 day. I don't love it. Like, these kind of small, very small zones like these are preferable when they're an immediate test, so when it's kind of not moved away quite so far from the zone. But I think yeah, I might as well alert that. So 1 day, 2 day supply, possible front run of annual level at high. If this zone fails, so yeah, you're really looking at, you know, assuming this has front run me here, or front run the level, or, you know, or the level is maybe slightly different on another exchange, etc. Then you're looking for that annual supply to play out, which potentially could then, so for the annual supply to play out, then I would expect price to end up down here. Excuse me. But we're still looking for that lower high on that. We've got lower highs on the daily, but we're looking for a retest of some decent supply to really cement the fact we're in a downtrend here. And then obviously monthly and 3 week demand below. So again, all the time frames are conflicting. But overall, if we do hit an annual supply, we expect to take out the low. Could go higher inside it. This is always the complexity, you know. So it's like you could take a short here, you know, if it had hit the zone exactly, you know, you have your stop all the way up here, you know, with your target somewhere down here, and it might take 5 years to play out. But that would be the setup based on the annual level. Obviously, it's not good to risk to reward, but, you know, alternatively, you could enter here, DCA throughout, potentially get half the entries filled, and again, with your target all the way down here. But in the meantime, that doesn't mean it's going to just crash down there tomorrow. In the meantime, it could well mean it comes down here, bounces off here, goes up here, makes a lower high, and then drops. Or bounces off here, makes a higher high, but still maintains the annual supply. It's still the overarching thing we're looking at, before again ending up down here. So yeah, and hence again, always saying trade both directions. But just in case we get a lower high here, I'm going to put an alert for 1 day, 2 day supply in there. Sin. I thought Sin had been around a lot longer actually. This is a very choppy, nasty chart. Clean up some of the mess. So you can see what happens there, you know, all the different zones I have, and when it's choppy, well, that's, so when it's choppy, so it does, you know, it has rejected off that one and come lower, but then it's come higher. Once it starts testing these a few times, then it's going to go through them. Okay, years, not giving anything, so we're in 6 month supply now. It did go very high in it on that previous candle. And then hasn't quite taken out the low at it. Oh no, it did take out the low by a hair down here. I'll leave that in actually. So we've got 6 month supply, we've got 3 month supply. We've got Bitcoin dying on my other screen. Yeah, this is just a bit messy. Don't like it. But it does have 3 weeks supply. Excuse me. Not the strongest 3 week as yet, but again, one of the ones on the more bearish side. It's got those trend line stops below, it's got 3 week supply, it's got the 6 month in there, we've got a 2 week demand here, and I guess there was a weekly demand. Yeah, 2 week and weekly demand, which were already tested and did get that move off it. So this has already been tested multiple times. So previously I wanted to test down on this daily down here. With 3 month supply, I don't know if I really want that anymore. Sorry, 3 week supply. Okay, this is definitely one that I will be looking for a short on. Again, the main consideration here, the only major consideration is that, you know, it hasn't properly tested this 2 week at the top, and also the swing failure of the low. So again, that's just giving it an added level of complexity, which is always fun. But if it's made 3 week supply here, we've got the bigger 6 month, 3 month, you know, and while they came down, and it has essentially played out, it's gone almost to the top, and then it's played out because it's just taken out the low by a couple of cents. But if it's starting to make more bearish structure here, I still think that, you know, the bigger downtrend is still in play for me, or even a sideways trend, but I'd be looking at least for a rejection here to take it down either lower or at the worst into this daily 2 day demand down there. So this is hopefully they're kind enough come back. So again, you can see sort of with all the choppy mess that this is, you know, it took this wick through this chop here and before it moved up, but then, you know, it's gone up to the next really clean zone. So you don't necessarily have to try and trade and get in and shorten all the choppy mess. Bitcoin's going back to make a new low now. And Ether might be following. But yeah, that's a decent place to look for shorts, and I don't really like that 2 day for longs, to be honest. So if I put a new disclaimer on it. 2 week, 3 week demand, stop hunt, retest. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think what I really wanted here is that this is the 2 week, 3 week demand. It's done a stop hunt, and then we get the retest, and then we get the move up from there. But the problem is on this, because we've already had those, like they didn't come back down into this zone. But with that and the 6 month supply, I don't really like it, so I'm just going to delete that. This can do its thing, but yeah, my bias is more bearish there, so I don't think there's good enough probability. You know, if again it's something you want to trade, you can look for a swing failure under those 2 lows. But yeah, for me it's not high enough probability to put an alert on it. Theta. Look at the big chart. Keep the US dollar chart because it gives me more history. Let's have a quick look at what some other things are doing. Okay. Just looking at some of my other shitcoins that I was looking at on Sol. Theta, so Theta's got an annual zone all the way down here, which I'd really like to see tested at some point. 6 month in there as well. 3 month demand that it's come off there. And just a bit of a choppy structure really. This is another example, so you've got your monthly demand in here. We've got a monthly demand down here, so I mean, so this is your monthly demand that's important. That's the most important one. These are just intra-range, useful and tradable, but this is the one that's important because this is the one that's holding the up move. So if this breaks, then you're like really in a monthly downtrend. I think you can say that, but then you're really just going to come into the next one, so it's not necessarily the most useful piece of information. But we've got a monthly supply there, which obviously it's tested. I saw there was one on the 2 month as well, but just put the monthlies in for now. So when you've got this move up from here and then a new monthly demand made, that's fine. You can look for longs in that monthly demand. But if this monthly demand can't take out either this monthly supply or even the prior high, then certainly the new one that's made isn't that strong. So when I will check the normal chart, looks the same. We've also got relatively equal lows here. So this is something that I would be looking at longs probably back down here below those two lows. And this is kind of a better example of why some of the charts are looking slightly more dodgy and why I'm slightly dubious about these new monthly demands that have been made, because I just don't like where they've tested. So let's see if this looks the same. It'll probably look completely different now, just to throw me off. But what have we got? So yeah, it doesn't show them properly down here, but 3 months, 2 months, so we've got the 2 month supply up there. We've got so at the moment I do have a monthly demand there. Oh, sorry, an alert for the monthly demand here. And again, like so, this is why I sort of let people make their own decisions and don't do the full analysis on things, because so what might happen now? So this is obviously bouncing off some dailies and there's a 5 day or whatever. So what could happen is that at this point, this goes up, rejects somewhere in here, and then comes to test this monthly demand. And if it does that, then we've maintained the uptrend, and then this is a higher probability zone. The problem is I don't know that yet. So I'll put the alert on, not knowing whether this is high probability or low probability. I do also have a 3 month in here actually, which I didn't either see or put there. I did the other chart too quickly. So there is also a 3 month demand in there. A 3 month level, or 3 months, those two candles that it's trying to pick up here. So I'll leave the monthly demand alert on that. It's not, like I say, it's not the highest probability while this hasn't broken the high. But we have broken a monthly supply here, so that's that's why that short entry would have failed and it's gone into the top of the wave. But go down and look at the lower time frames. Yeah, I'm okay looking for longs on that. It would be certainly would be preferable if it had broken this high first before it comes down to test here. However, I think it will probably give a scalp even if it's not correct structurally, and also given the 3 month at the lows and the monthly, but just again be conscious that the risk on this is that it hasn't tested the monthly down here, or even the 3 week, you know, it hasn't tested these lower zones, and that we're not actually necessarily, so while again, so bigger picture, this could still come back and test that before the bigger move, with this just being something in the middle. Draw that very well, but this can just be something in the middle before that. So anyway, even if I wanted to short the 5 day supply on this, which I probably wouldn't have done to be honest, because of the fact it broke this monthly supply here, but obviously it is giving a slight reaction off it at the moment. This would have been me just pulling the next alert up once this one had gone off. Lots of equal highs, then 3 week and 1 month supply. Monthly isn't ideal. 3 weeks nicer. 2 months is quite a lot higher. But yeah, the equal highs are of interest. So I'm okay with leaving that alert up there. I'm okay with leaving this alert on this monthly, although like I say, it's not overly high probability. On something like this, it's also worth looking at the THETA BTC chart, because that might give you some more insight as to whether this is likely to break out or whether it's just going to go sideways in a range for the time being. Yeah, so I'll leave those as is at the moment. Uni, excuse me. Wow, this has gone through quite a lot of zones. It's good though, it means I can clean things up, I like that. There's a lot of zones actually. And sadly didn't get my entry at the bottom there. Did manage to get a nice re-entry on that. So this is kind of what I was saying about THETA, like, you know, here you've got clearly it's broken that last high and it's gone into the next supply, but it means, you know, I'm more confident looking for longs on demand. Okay, it doesn't look like it's going to create an annual, 6 month, 3 month. And come quite deep into the 3 month, might create another 3 month. Yeah. I've got monthly down there. 2 months, so yeah, this is. I don't love these structures when they're a bit messy like this, because it can be hard to judge. I don't like having thousands of lines on the charts either, but it can be hard to judge, you know, when you're coming out. I don't really love things coming out of a triangle, because if they come back and test, like, where are they going to, is it going to be the tops here, or is it going to come right back to the start of the move? I'll take this off for now. So there was a monthly demand down there. I don't know why I've got this as a level. Yeah, so there's a monthly down, you know, there's again an example of it being slightly front run. This monthly demand and even the 3 week demand, it just happens. 3 week, 2 week. Okay, so we had a 2 week demand and we got retested on the 2 week in here, and then we've made a new 2 week demand there. And then there's also a weekly. The weekly obviously would be the more aggressive entry. Potentially will coincide with the 2 month level. These are other entries I find somewhat challenging as well, like, because then it's difficult because you don't want to miss moves, but then similarly, I tend to find if I put entries here like aggressively when there's a few zones like this going up, that I tend to be wrong. I don't find they're particularly high probability, like often, and maybe it just depends on the type of market you're in, because if it's corrective, any corrective moves tend to retrace the entire move. Like you see here, it's jumped up, but it's retraced this entire move. And even this, you know, it's a fairly strong move, but it's corrective based on this downtrend, and therefore it's retraced the entire thing all the way to the bottom. So it is entirely possible that this also retraces the entire thing all the way to the bottom, but a lot of that is then down to timing. And all the other argument is, you know, has it flipped bullish now? Is this going to start, you know, is this the correction over? This is the first impulse. And then we're going to get another impulse, and thus, you know, maybe it's going to bounce here, maybe it won't even go down to the weekly level. Those are the ones I find a bit more challenging. Looking at where the fib is as well, right? So the log fib is a bit lower, but the linear fib is higher. But, you know, I might just put, I'll be aggressive and I'll put the comment accordingly. One week demand, aggressive, 2 week lower. But see what happens when it gets there. And again, we're always supposed to be just looking for what the reaction is going to be anyway, so it's not just blindly entering. And this is given a 3-day supply, so do I want to look for a short on this? Might be a yes. This is sad that Bitcoin is just retracing. Let's have a quick look at it. Sad that it's retraced the entire. So it made a not the best 4-hour demand, but made a 4-hour demand, but now it's gone right back through it. So yeah, I didn't say earlier. So one of my concerns with this entry that I'd noticed, I hadn't noticed before, that CME. Let's go back to this. That CME had a contract rollover last week, and it left this gap. So I said there was a chance, so the alert said that we might get a bounce here, but there was a chance we were going to come back lower and fill this gap. So I guess that's what it looks like it's doing it currently. And it was hard to, and it's hard to judge, I don't know with the contract rollovers, and it's still something that I'm up in the air on, is whether I should actually use the adjusted chart or the unadjusted chart. So this is the unadjusted chart, and then the adjusted chart doesn't look like there's a gap at all. But I've been reluctant to do that because mainly it means I have to redo all my charts, but I really need to go back and look at these contract rollovers and see. So like for example, here there's a rollover, actually didn't really have a gap, so I can find one that actually had a gap. Here for example, left a gap and it did come back and filled the gap. But did it come back and fill the gap, or is it just retesting? I don't know if that's actually a gap-specific retracement or not. Here, yeah, it filled the gap immediately, so that's not very helpful. Here again, it did come back and sort of near enough filled the gap. This is like a weekend gap, so that's a different story, but this was the contract rollover gap, as you can see by these symbols. So it does seem like these gaps do sort of actively get filled, but I could be wrong. So yeah, I think they're worth having on the chart anyway. Anyway, I digress. But that does mean that, yeah, Bitcoin could go to this lower zone. And also the other thing that on Bitcoin was that my concern was that it didn't quite go to my arrow up here, but that because we took out the high of the range here, that then it might come back and then take out the low of the range there and there. So this is still a tentative entry down here. And that's not the biggest move. Off those, didn't even really get back up, and it would have been nice if it got into decent supply. Actually rejected on the weekly flip level there as well. Anyway, don't want to digress too much. So Uni has come off a monthly supply at the high, so again is, while it's stronger than Theta, for example, if it's hit the monthly here, then I should be okay with looking for a short re-entry. The problem I have a little bit with this is that zone is just too big. It's not going to give good risk to reward for any trade particularly. Like if you entered here and your stop was all the way up there, but yet your support is down here, it's not really ideal. Take out that 2 day because it's not very useful. But then on the flip side is if you can get in on the daily here, then that's better risk to reward. So I might just put an alert in there. Because that's what you're looking for when you see these major levels hit. Like, it's really up to you what time frames you're using. But if 1 day supply, you're looking for rejection, breaking demand, sell the retest. And on what time frame you do that is challenging. So here it's broken a daily demand, and then it's come up with quite an aggressive retest. So you would probably have to be looking at 4 hour or 1 hour for an entry in here. And then it's it's gone down into the next demand. It's a bit choppy here, and it's still in like a bigger uptrend as well. But then you're looking for price action then, for example, like this, to come slowly back up into the zone you're interested in to show it's not particularly strong. And again, those are things I can't judge unless I'm looking at every chart all the time. So in this case, I probably would have had an alert here for a short, and it hasn't got up quite that far, but you can see price action is fairly weak going into that. But that's kind of what you're looking for with your re-entries. XCH, okay, that's come back down for a 5 day there. This is kind of a bigger, this is looking like it's going to create an annual supply, but already has a 6 month in there anyway that it's rejected. But if there's something around that 6 month level, so given that's going to convert into an annual zone, more than likely, what I'm looking for now then is something on the lower time frame around that level that's going to coincide with that potentially being an annual zone. So obviously there's a surprise, we've got the 5 day. There's a 4 day that already got tested. Three day, 2 day. Yeah, so this would be probably, this is an example of what I was saying at the beginning, where you've got the 5 day, but then there's a 2 day above it that's untested. But given this 6 month is going to convert, so I'm gonna alert this as an annual supply, because yeah, maybe it'll come back there. I'll put it if it confirms. Supply, if it confirms. Inside 5 day and 2 day just above. So it's just to look in the general area of price revisits. You're looking for that retest entry anywhere from this sort of 6 month level potentially up into this 2 day. Let me just see, I should probably remove some of these. So we had a monthly, so yeah, it's taken a swing, fell through the monthly as well. Through week. So there are a few, so it hasn't, again, what you're looking for is retracements of waves. So you're like, just reiterate what I've said many times, that when you've got this down move and you're looking to sell a retest for the bigger down move, and now that retest can be anywhere, like you want to be looking in the 61 fib or up. So that'll be, this would be around 50% probably from here, but you're looking in this top section for your bigger short, for that bigger move down. If you're being very sensible, your stop is all the way up here, but that's just a bit crazy from a risk to reward perspective. But yeah, you need to be conscious that if you're looking for shorts here for that new low, then it has missed zones up here. So again, there are options here that we could get that test, it could come back down, pick up demand, get the next bounce, and then you've got an ABC corrective before that move. some of this mess, or it could just be an early, you know, like around the 61 fib mark, and then go straight down from here. Oops. Oh, excuse me. So there's just all the different options, and it's all probabilities. So yeah, and I'm kind of reasonably comfortable with having that 3 week, and that's a monthly demand as well. 3 week, and then 1 month demand. Oops. Again, if the market's in the right place, then this is going to give a bounce. If it's not, then it's lower probability. XLM, one of the crazy outperformers, follows Ripple, and so it really did follow Ripple. Take some of these out. So this is a log chart on. See what this is going to do, because this surely is going to make an annual. It's going to be close. So this could well make an annual demand here, which probably means Ripple will as well, actually, and I haven't even looked at that yet. It's certainly going to, even if it doesn't make the annual, it'll probably make the 6 month here, or it certainly will make the 6 month here, so I'm going to put that in now. Three months, a little bit higher. 2 months, monthly. Okay, so it's got that, yeah, the usual chop down here with the 3 month. I'm going to move the alert up a little bit because of that 6 month. Let's have a look at this then. There's a 3 week a bit inside. The only problem with the 6 month is there's just this one. There's a daily here, but there's just a bit of a gap then that could still be filled. Cross that bridge when we come to it. So we're going to say 6 month demand, monthly inside, lower, for reaction on level first instance. So yeah, looking for the reaction, like see if the 6 month actually gives a reaction, if there's something at the level that's going to help. I just want to see what it's gone through on the supply side. So yeah, on that you're looking for firstly for the reaction at the level. We'll put this monthly back in just in case it closes back down below that and below the year. That's a 2 month in fact. Excuse me. Monthly. Where are we at? So potentially, so we don't have the 5 day on this. This is because it's like Ripple, it's stronger. We might have a new 5 day put in there. But it's got, see, this has just rejected all the 4 days, which is why I say you need to look at all the different time frames, because otherwise you may not get what you want. So this has got a couple of 4 day supplies. It actually hasn't quite hit that top one, but in the second one here it has hit. This orange level doesn't really need to be there. What that is, this is also a 4 day supply, so it's like rejected the 4 day supply at the highs there. And now it's just what is it going to give us? You know, is it going to give? Obviously, I've got this more aggressive alert up here, and now this one on the 6 month down below. You know, if you look back here, you know, when the price is aggressive, you know, it's not necessarily going to come back down here. It just, you know, would have tapped off to the top of some wicks here, or maybe something on the higher time frame before taking off again. It's not coming back to the perfect entry all the way down here. So we may find that's the case here, and I think hence I had this more aggressive, and I think the same for Ripple. I've also got that more aggressive entry. It was a bit late for the short on this, unfortunately. Okay, so it didn't, and this is the other problem I had. I had the same problem at the bottom actually. As you can see here that we had, you know, these So the 5 day may confirm one now, but there's nothing in there on the 5 day. So 4 day, it had a 4 day supply. Oh, actually did come up and tested on the next candle, then made a new 4 day and then has tested that as well. 3 day, there's a kind of a 3 day in there as well, and then there's one at the top here that hasn't quite been tested. 2 day, there's another 2 day, well there's a 2 day in here. That's kind of where that wick came to, and again it becomes, the chop makes it really hard to kind of specifically say what levels are going to get tested, and it was very much the same down here. A lot of things had 3 day, 4 day, 5 day demand, and they were all testing them, but the chop made it really quite hard to call effective entries, and the moves away weren't strong as well until they were, which obviously welcome to crypto. You know, these are very small moves away, so you know here would have been a 2 day demand, maybe it was more than that, I don't know, you know, and it's come down a few times deep into it before this massive move. Was that, I don't know, like, was that the Trump trigger? I don't know, 6th of November, I guess it was. Yeah, you know, sometimes it just makes it really hard to judge, and it's why you need to be across the higher time frames. You know, this was in monthly demand, and yeah, it took a year to move, but was still in monthly demand. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, this is a bit too choppy for me to want to look for shorts now, and it's coming down on, and the chop also from the perspective that it's coming down very slowly, which is good for it. You can see in contrast, you know, here it's coming down slowly, and this just came into the daily demand, or maybe just even just above before the next move up. But you want to see these slow moves, slow corrections, big moves up, slow corrections. Here you can start to see it starts to get a bit more aggressive in the sell-off, and then you get the bigger sell-off. It doesn't go far back enough to give another example of that, but yeah, what we're wanting to see, you know, even here, like this was a slightly more aggressive sell-off, but it still tried to bounce a few times. But at the moment, this sell-off is pretty tame. So I think it's reasonably okay to look for. Need that one in there now. To look for more aggressive longs when it comes down into these daily areas. And I will put an alert on this at all-time high as well. So I put the all-time high alerts because they're more like, actually didn't need to do that, they're more sort of breakout do or die levels, so you're looking either for like solely rejection at all-time high and it goes above, comes back below, or you're looking at something like SUSHI, which breaks out, flips the level, uses it, and then retests it before taking off. So they're not, that doesn't mean short there at all, it just means like keep an eye on it because it'll probably give you, either way it'll give you a decent move. That's what you like to see at all-time highs. And it's going to break out and go to the moon, or if it's going to not break out, then it's just going to die. Let me just check. Nobody's said anything in my group and then I'm not just talking to myself for 10 hours. Hopefully not. Okay. So that's, yeah, I've got too many alerts on this, but yeah, an alert at all-time high on there, alert on the daily, this is the aggressive one, and then the 6 month would be the preferred entry if it's given. Ripple's obviously another one that's on my other watch list, so I think Ripple, when I look back, tends to break one demand and go to the next one, so I think I went for the lower alert, but maybe that's not aggressive enough. But also I don't like buying things that are already up that much, so it's not useful. I hope the noise outside isn't too distracting. I should probably shut my window just in case, but Zcash is one of the more challenging ones because I think it just came right back up through a 6 month or a 3 month supply. Yeah, so it closed down. This is another example in reverse, actually, what I was saying about the really quick retests, that this, you know, made a 3 month. So here's made a 3 month supply. In fact, there's many of them. 3 month supply, tested it ish into the wick of the area. That was on the immediate candle. So obviously, like I say, it can work, but it had a significant move away from it. So it did close significantly below this green candle. So when it retests, it then drops again. Then had 6 months of moving away from it. And like I said, that's the preferred, the rounded retest. So made a new 3-month supply. And didn't, again, this level didn't quite come back into it. Down here, then it's made a 3-month supply in here with these 2 green candles. But again, it's done what I said earlier, like it's tested it too quickly, and it also isn't a significant move away from it. It's only swing failed. The wicket hasn't like closed the body long below this. So thus when it came to test it, it went straight back up through it. In the bigger picture as well, it had also swing failed the major low there. But obviously this is a much stronger chart, but it is now again approaching those kind of zones you should be aware of. Okay, so this is going to create a 3-month demand in here. What do I've got alerted already? 1 month. So I'll leave that obviously, and I'll put 3 month, just the 3 months inside. And then above we've got 3 months supply. That is. It's in a 3-month supply now, in fact, or I've got that marked as 2 months. So that was looking for the short in there. Monthly. Might actually create a monthly right here. So there could be an aggressive entry on the monthly if December closes above. So that's something that's worth watching if you want an aggressive long, but again, you're only really looking for it to get up there. I just do the 3 week, sorry, my mistake, this is potentially going to be a 3-week demand, and it's going to be 9 days till that closes. It is not confirmed yet. 2-week demand is going to close in 2 days, in fact, so this may give an aggressive long entry. You know, and it's been a nice kind of reversal pattern on this with the swing fail of the lows and then slowly building up here and with strong waves and not such heavy retracements. So keep an eye on this if it creates that 2-week demand. And then, yeah, so the alert's already in for the monthly there. It's probably, in this case, it might be more likely to come down into the 3-month that cross, because there's not much at the level, or the consolidation is above the level. And then, yeah, like, other than that, we're looking to see what the reaction is if it makes it up to 3-month supply up here. But it's still, Zcash is still looking pretty strong. It hasn't really had a strong rejection of this 3-month supply, and it's still getting bought back really quickly. So yeah, not something I want to look for shorts on. There is a possibility of a 5-day demand in here. This is probably one of the strongest bounces I've seen so far since we had the drop. A bit of bounce on Bitcoin now, but yeah, since we had the drop, this is actually one of the strongest. It's come right back up to where it started. Like I said, I haven't looked at that many alts, so that's maybe not necessarily indicative, but maybe, you know, the ones, given the ones I'm looking at are mostly these US ones, maybe that's just sort of that initial FOMO has kind of died off. But there is a 5-day demand there, and there is a daily. The daily was kind of already tested. But I like to put the odd more aggressive entry in. So I'm going to put an alert on this, as why not? typing seems to have gone out the window today. So yeah, that was obviously the aggressive entry, and it could go down. There's a daily inside there. I actually thought that had been tested. It hasn't quite been tested. 5-day demand, 1 day inside. Oh my gosh, my typing. It doesn't help typing with a cigarette in your hand. Okay, yeah, so might get the bounce off the top there and potentially could get a push into higher supply on this, because that is obviously one of the stronger ones. Hopefully it's not just an aggressive retest and it's just going to die. If it does though, then down here you're looking for the monthly and 3 monthly demand on that. And why I've got also this cash futures chart on here as well. Maybe the levels are slightly different. So yeah, I always chart on the exchange with the longest history, but then sometimes when you do that, then the prices can be slightly different when you're actually trading. So I have to kind of switch to the chart I'm trading. So it's possible I traded this at some point in the past, and therefore needed both charts, or I was just charting on this chart and I needed the history, so I switched to the other one. Anyway, that is the end of the US list, so at least I'm up to date on that if we get some decent retests. I don't think there's much more to add. I can't remember very well the ones I had the other day, so if you want to see those you have to watch the other stream, and I'll do the timestamps on this anyway, so if anyone wants to go through they can. And yeah, then I'll try and do it, so I will stream at the start of the year, probably without sound though, where I'm just going to run through, because I have sort of 600, so my main list, the blue list, 649 now, and you can take off a handful where I've got them doubled up like THETA and Zcash, but frankly it's close, it'll be over 600 on that list. I'm going to need to go through all of them and put in the annual 6 month, 3 month, 2 month, 1 month zones and potentially update all of them, but I can't do that with speaking, and that will probably take also 2 to 3 weeks, so and I don't want to be speaking every day. But yeah, so I might just do that on a silent stream, so feel free to have that running in the background to make it look like I've got people who are interested in exposure. And then I'll put each day when I do that, I'll put which alts I've done, so you can at least like run through. I'll do them in alphabetical order, which makes it easier, so you can at least run through and see if there's anything you're interested in there. And yeah, beyond that, I think this is it for now. Try and think of any other stream that I want to do in the next couple of days before the new year, but I need to do my FX results, so that might be one of them. And yeah, other than that, have a happy new year. I hope this is of some use to you.